let's start with description of the company. Ørsted's main business areas are in wind power, bioenergy, and thermal power, distribution and customer solutions. Ørsted is based in Lyngby and Fredericia and is the largest energy company in Denmark. Ørsted also has offices and operations in Sweden, the Netherlands, United Kingdom, and Germany. Ørsted develops, constructs and operates offshore and onshore wind farms, bioenergy plants, and innovative waste-to-energy solutions and provides smart energy products to its customers. In 2016, the company's revenue was 61 billion Danish crowns, 8.2 billion euros. Mission and vision. Ørsted mission is to be a company that provides real, tangible solutions to one of the world's most difficult and urgent problems. Ørsted vision is a world that runs entirely on green energy. Ørsted want to take and inspire real action to help meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), and make the planet a cleaner and more prosperous home for all. Let's continue with financial analysis. Take a look at Ørsted total equity. Equity is the value of the business left to its owners after the business has paid all liabilities. Total equity is what is left over after we subtract the value of all the liabilities of the Ørsted from the value of all of its assets. The formula for total equity is total equity equals assets minus liabilities. Total equity of Ørsted was in 2018 85.115 million Danish crowns. Since this number on the balance sheet reads as positive, it means that Ørsted has enough assets to cover its liabilities. The total equity of Ørsted rised by 23.582 million Danish crowns from year 2014 to 2018. That show us exponential growth of Ørsted's financial health. Return on investment, or a ROI, is a performance measure used to evaluate the efficiency of an investment or compare the efficiency of a number of different investments. ROI tries to directly measure the amount of return on a particular investment, relative to the investment's cost. The formula for return of investment is EBIT times 100 divided by average total assets. We can see that return of investment of Ørsted rised since 2015 from 1.27% to 14.12% in year 2018. This numbers shows us that the Ørsted's investments got more efficient during the years. Return on assets, or ROA, is an indicator of how well a company utilizes its assets, by determining how profitable a company is relative to its total assets. We can use this ratio to compare the Ørsted to its previous performance. The formula for return of assets is ROA equals to EBITDA divided by total assets. If we compare return of assets of the Ørsted, we can see that the Ørsted is gain more asset efficiency during the 4 years. The return of assets rised from 0.6% in 2015 to 11.1% in year 2018. During the years is Ørsted building more efficient business. Return of equity, or a ROE, is considered a measure of how effectively management is using a company's assets to create profits. The formula for return of equity is return of equity equals profit before tax divided by average shareholders' equity. Return of equity in 2018 of Ørsted was 34.31%. Economy with significant influence on the company. In 2018, China was the region with the most renewable capacity installed, accounting for approximately 30%. Therefore, our opinion is that China is the economy with the most significant influence on Ørsted. China is a market holding a number 1 position in the most renewable capacity installed, and therefore this market is representing major part of Ørsted income. Moreover, this numbers are predicted to grow annually by 10%. Macroeconomic analysis of China. GDP per capita. GDP expanded 6.2% in annual terms in second quarter of 2019, below both first quarters 6.4%. Expansion in the 6.3% increase expected by market analysts. Nevertheless, growth is still within the government's target of between 6 0% and 6.5% for 2019. Seasonally adjusted quarter-on-quarter GDP growth inched up from 1.4% in first quarter to 1.6% in second quarter, while nominal GDP accelerated from a 7.8% year-on-year increase in first quarter to an 8.3% rise in second quarter. Unemployment data. Available data for August reveals that the official manufacturing PMI remained in negative territory for the fourth consecutive month. Lower output and overall new orders, especially from overseas, are reducing purchasing activity and capping job creation. Public debt. The Chinese government has speeded up the approval of new investment projects in an attempt to fuel economic growth, as sluggishness in the global economy and a subsequent domestic slowdown have started to take their toll. Trade balance. Exports expanded 12.3% annually in November, coming in above October's 6.9% increase and market analysts' expectations of a 5.3% rise. November's healthy print signals that global growth remains strong, which is lifting demand for Chinese goods. Meanwhile, imports rose 17.7% annually in November. The print suggests that domestic demand is in a good shape, which bodes well for overall growth in fourth quarter. International reserves. The economy continues to falter in the third quarter after GDP growth slowed to a near three-decade low in the second quarter. Inflation. Consumer prices rose 0.7% from the previous month in August, following July's 0.4% increase. The print mostly reflected higher prices for food. Annual average inflation was unchanged at the previous month's 2.8% in August. How the company can be impacted by the economy. First of all, as we mentioned at our macroeconomics analysis, the GDP in China, as in the biggest Ørsted's market, is rising for quarter to quarter. The Chinese government has a tendency to continue this trend and help inflation. Solution. With prediction that Chinese GDP will continue to rise, the Ørsted should expand on this market. For example, to hire a new employees, pay a higher salaries, open a new departments and promote more products. The true is that this risk is only of we could think of, besides the more strict political regime. Otherwise we think that China is perfect market for this industry and also China wet herd economic crisis better than any other countries. Moreover, in November 2008, the State Council unveiled a 4 trillion Chinese yuan, $585 billion stimulus package in an attempt to shield the country from the worst effects of the financial crisis. The massive stimulus program fueled economic growth mostly through massive investment projects. All of above mentioned makes a Chinese market perfect for this business. Benchmarking. To create this benchmark we choose two competitors of Ørsted, Vestas and Siemens. We are benchmarking those companies based on the performance and financial indicators. From performance point of view we see that the Siemens AG is the leading competitor. It is based on a fact that this company is leading in number of accomplished projects and capacity of megawatts. Second in performance point of view is company Vestas and finally third is our case company, Ørsted. From financial point of view, we take into consideration these indicators: return of capital employed, earnings before interest and taxes and current ratio, revenue and operating margin. The return on capital employed ratio is measuring how well a company is generating profits from its capital. Based on this indicator is the best performing company, company Ørsted, then company Vestas is second and the last is Siemens company. The next indicator is earnings before interest and taxes. The best performing company is Siemens, then Ørsted and the last company is Vestas. Next is current ratio. The current ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a company's ability to pay short-term obligations or those due within 1 year. Based on this indicator is best performing company Ørsted, then Vestas and last one is Siemens. However, for current ratio are all those numbers very good. And let's jump to operating margin, that measures how much profit a company makes on $1 of sales, after paying for variable costs of production, such as wages and raw materials, but before paying interest or tax. The most effective company in this field is Ørsted with ratio of 32.4%, which is significantly higher than other companies. Based on this benchmark is company Siemens AG the best performing company, however the Ørsted our case company is very close behind it, and the last one is Vestas. The company Siemens won, thanks to its extraordinary performance and number of projects. It is the biggest one out of these three companies, and it is also a leader of the market. However, its return of capital employed ratio and operating margin are not that good, and this company should make some improvements in this field. The reason why we put Ørsted at second place, even with the worst performance indicators, is the fact that this company is very efficient and it is holding the highest ratios in ROCE and also in current ratio. The last one is Vestas company, since it did not show up anything outstanding, and with this number of projects and size of the company we expected better performance. So the conclusion is, we think that Ørsted has a high potential and very efficient business. With this potential, and if it will be able to hold up to such a numbers, can company steal a number one position from Siemens. The main step this company should take is to establish and start more projects, maybe enter new markets. All those three companies are in almost the same markets. Nowadays the environment is number one issue, and the most of the markets are looking for renewable energy and other ways how to save our environment, and that can be a chance for Ørsted. By looking at annual report of Ørsted, we saw that the numbers of this company are growing and are estimated to grow even more till year 2030. That makes us believe that this company will be capable of establishing new projects and entering new markets and eventually become a global market leader. Thank you.